The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Alpha Sessions. Today I have Say Anise in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have a nice chat. So, first of all, straight out of the box, real name is not Say Anise.
No, that would be a strange choice from my parents.
I mean, we've had weirder.
Yeah.
But why the name?
Oh, it's not even a story. It's a terrible story. It's just my name is Emily Barnett, and there are a lot of Emily Barnetts, and so I was trying to think of like another name, and I was in my friend's kitchen and she saw some Star Anise, you know, like the aniseed.
That's what it made me think of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she was like, why don't you call yourself Star Anise? And I was like, I can't call myself Star. And then I just, because that would be so Star. And so I changed it to Say, and it means nothing. And that's the story, yeah. But at least it's more original than Emily Barnett.
Yeah, it's nice that, I think you could have gone for Star Anise. Because, that's unique. Because I wouldn't ever just call you Star. You'd always be Star Anise. But anyway, Say Anise is brilliant.
People do think that my name is Say, first name Say, surname Anise. And sometimes they'll message me and they'll be like, hi, Say. How you doing?
I suppose you would get that a lot.
Yeah.
So you've achieved quite a lot in the last few years. And, I've been looking through all your Spotify, your releases, your Instagram. You're very active, live performer. You've got singles, loads of singles out. An EP recently. We've got a lot to get through. So take me through how the last few years have been for you.
Oh, well,
music. It's a big question, but...
Great. COVID was amazing. I did release some stuff. I'm trying to think because my memory is terrible, but I did release a single right in the kind of thick of COVID. So that would be, I think I released Little Things in 2020. And then later in 2020, I released the first and the second tracks from my debut EP, I think. And then I released tell me if I'm wrong, then I released my debut EP last year. Is that right?
That sounds about right. I know that Little Things was a COVID one.
Yeah.
I remember that being 2020. I think you had 3 or 4 singles in 2020.
Oh my God, I should have checked this before I came here.
It happens a lot though.
I'm not a dates person, and I remember that Little Things was during COVID. And it was just because, it's hard to not release stuff. If you have songs to release, you're like, well, might not be a great time, but let's put it out there. And it was, it's fine.
It makes sense. A lot of people did release. Some people used it as the songwriting period. Some people thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity to focus.
Yeah.
So, saying that, is that how you used your time? You did any writing? You did all releasing? It was all very focused? No live, I'm guessing. No live performance?
Yeah, no, I did. So I stayed with my ex for the first, proper 3-month.
Wow.
At the time we were still together.
Oh, right, no, okay. I thought you...
No, yeah.
I thought that's a tricky situation.
No, yeah, no. So we were together at that point, and I stayed with him, and we did a lot of stuff together because he's a musician as well. So I remember we did lots of live, what they called live streams, what are they called? Live streams together, just kind of for fun, and we did a weekly one for a while, which was fun at first and then got a bit old. I think a lot of people, again, who did live streaming didn't love it after a while because it's just not the same. And I didn't do a lot of songwriting. I didn't find it particularly inspiring, I don't think. I think I need to be, I don't know,
active.
Living a bit more maybe to write well. I don't know, I just didn't find it inspiring, at least that first. I'm thinking of the main kind of first lockdown. So yeah, I kind of got all, tried to get things finished, and read, because obviously when you release music you have to first record the music, but then there's a whole bunch of other stuff you have to do as well. So I think I did all that, and found an artist who did the little cover art for Little Things for that single. And then I can't remember. It was a weird time.
It's a long time ago now. I was saying this a few weeks ago. It's something that I've kind of forgotten happened. And then I speak to somebody in this context and I realise that it feels like an age ago.
It was over 2 years ago now, the beginning of it all, 2.5 years ago. But yeah.
Yes, but they're quite formative months, I think, for a lot of people in music. So the songs you released in that time, you actually wrote before the whole pandemic.
Yeah, all of them. And I started recording a couple of the ones that I released later in 2020. But yeah, they'd all been written before. I think a lot of them had been written in autumn 2019. Yeah.
So that's kind of a period of rest for you, and then suddenly everything took off, I guess, after releases. How did music actually become your life, I suppose?
Oh gosh, that's very gradually. I mean, I did a lot of music when I was younger. My parents are both actually like classically trained musicians.
Oh, really?
And I played violin when I was a kid, like in orchestras and things like that. Sang a lot. And then when I was a teenager, I joined my first band, and sort of started toying with songwriting. I mean, I did, but I hated my songwriting, and I always wrote, but I didn't like sharing it. And then as I got a bit older, I took it more seriously and started actually performing my own songs. But it took ages for me. And I went to uni and I studied history, and I didn't pursue music in a kind of standard way at all. It was a bit of a strange roundabout way.
Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
I do. Oh wait, no, that's not true. This is the first, I would say, proper song.
Yeah, that's what I'm
actually. I wrote songs when I was a kid. My dad used to take me to ballet, and I used to write songs in the car and make him sing backing vocals and then tell him off when he got it wrong. But I remember my first serious song. I think I was 14, and it was about so embarrassing, a classic teenage thing. It was my friend's boyfriend who I fancied. And I wrote a song about that, and I think I remember a bit of it being I can't remember now. It was something but your arms aren't around me. It was really sad. So I remember the kind of teenagey angst bit of those very early, very basic songs. I didn't really know how to play guitar. I just knew a few chords and just, yeah.
How's that developed between, so from that point, say that's your beginning point, did you always just write on your own? You did that classic artist thing where you sit in your bedroom and every week you just write song after song and you sort of bowl through them all, and then you got to this point? Or were you much more relaxed, did one every now and again?
I think, oh God, it's tricky because I don't think there were breaks in between, I think, for me. So after the band, I sort of stopped doing music generally for quite a long time. And then I think when I was at uni, I started taking it more seriously, and that's when I discovered Joni Mitchell, and I was like, oh, songs can be like this. They can, because I think before that I'd always listened to mostly either the music that my friends were listening to or what I'd grown up listening to, because my dad was in a band as well, so he kind of listened to a whole bunch of 80s stuff. So I'd grown up listening to all of that stuff, and I loved it all, but I guess I didn't think of the songwriting in the same way. And when I discovered Joni Mitchell and she was singing about things that were really relatable to me, I was like, oh, I can write songs, maybe not like that because she's a genius, but in that vein. And that's when I started, I think, kind of spending time in my room writing, but then even then I didn't perform them or anything for ages, so it was all very slow.
What was the gap? What made you stop doing music? Was it that you just felt uninspired until you found those kind of songwriters?
I honestly think I thought it's really bizarre because my parents are musicians, and so they've had both had quite strange lives, I guess, because they didn't do your standard job. My dad did work in TV for a good while, but both of them have done a bunch of different things, but for some reason I was music isn't really something that I'm going to ever do professionally, so there's sort of no point, I think, is what I thought at the time. So I just stopped pursuing it because I was just nah, maybe I just didn't think I was good enough. And then you just have that little, if you have a passion, you have that little kind of thing in the back of your mind that's telling you that I still want to do this or something. And I think that's what brought me back to it again. But yeah, I think it was, yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting because I think when you're going through the period of like trying to figure out what you want to do and looking at careers, it's usually when you have parents who are in that career, they sort of guide you into it just because you're involved in it all the time. But yeah, it's interesting to hear that having a musical background and not quite feeling like you believed in yourself at that point.
I know. I think it's weird. It's like reverse rebellion.
It is.
Isn't it? I don't know what happened. I think it is just, I mean, my parents, I think they really loved parts of their lives, but obviously it was difficult. Like my dad left his band when he was like sometime in his 20s and did a bunch of other stuff, and I don't know, I think maybe I just thought, oh, this is too hard or something, and it is hard, but you know, it's worth it, I think, as well. But yeah. So
now you feel like you're on the right path, you're pushing through, or do you still have that? I mean, I think all musicians have that existential dread and the
yeah, I'm such an overthinker, like probably, again, like most people who are creative at all, or at least a whole bunch of them. I'm a massive overthinker. I'm always like, not always, that would be exhausting, but it is quite exhausting. I do worry about what I'm doing. I do want to be more successful. But then every time I try and think of something else, it kind of pulls me back, I guess. But yeah, you know, like I have to do other stuff as well. But yeah.
Did you get that feeling? The important thing is that when you get that feeling that you can't do anything else, like you kind of have, like you were saying, that little like feeling in the back of your head. Is that how it feels? Like you go off path for a bit and you think, oh, maybe I'll try this, but then you always seem to come back. I
think it is. I think that's it.
And that's when you always know that.
Yeah, it just feels a bit, you know, meant to be. And it's songwriting, I think. Songwriting and performing as well. So I guess the two main things. I love writing, and when I'm in a good writing phase, I'm like at my best then. I'm so happy because I'm like, whatever I'm doing, whatever's going on in my life, if I'm writing, I feel like I'm doing the thing I'm meant to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you've got the same. I feel like you've got the same thing.
Yeah, that's the important feeling. So the first song you did for us, About You.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? How did you feel? What kind of space were you in when you wrote that one? Was that recent?
That is a recent song, yeah.
Unreleased?
Unreleased, but recorded. I've just recorded it.
Oh, okay.
So I've got like a whole bunch of music that's ready to... I've got basically a 5-track EP ready to go. Ooh. And then I've got 2 more songs, About You and another one, that are in the process of being mixed and stuff right now. So, I mean, I have so much music to get out. That's really exciting, but also quite stressful. So yeah, About You was written this summer. I mean, I don't want to go too much into it, and I don't. I was saying this to you before. I'm weird about like explaining songs, or maybe I'm afraid of like over explaining them. I quite like leaving it a bit mysterious, but it is obviously a song about being confused about a relationship with someone and what it means and what you are to each other. And I remember I wrote the beginning of it ages ago. Like, when did I? Yeah, I wrote it right at the beginning of the year. The first like verse, which I do sometimes. I'll write like a chunk of lyrics or like a whole chord progression or something, and then I won't be able to find the other bits for it, and I'll leave it for a bit, and then suddenly, weirdly, like 6 months later or even longer, I'll be writing or doing something, and then suddenly I'll be like, oh, this is what the song is. I didn't realise. So I wrote that that first verse, and then was like, I don't know what this song is about. Like, it just feels very general and vague, and then it just found its place. And so then I finished it.
Love is a battle, it's an ever-fixed mark. It is a holy thing. Life is a journey, it's a walk in the park. It is a daily win. I don't know about you, but I've been about you, where you're going, who you're with, or what we are. Running in circles, kissing strangers in my mind, dreaming of meant to be. Weirdly romantic for this unforgiving time, this strange reality. I don't know about you, but I've been drowning in your eyes. I don't know about you, if the gold is worth the cost, is worth the price. What do I know? I know that I've been wrong before. Ooh, what do I know? Will I lose the good I have by wanting more? Love is a battle, it's an ever-fixed mark. It is a holy thing. I don't know about you, and if you feel the way I feel. I don't know about you, and if this is even real. I don't know about you, oh, I'm stumbling in the dark. Whoa, I don't know about you, I don't know about you.
The Alpha Sessions.
This one reminded me of Norah Jones.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like
I've
she
had
said.
that comparison, not with that specific song, but generally I've had that comparison 1 or 2 times before, which is a massive compliment.
Yeah, it's like the tone of your voice, I think,
Oh,
is the
thank
tone.
you.
And the tenderness of this one in particular. This is the one that was very sort of mellow. But also, and I don't know if anyone agrees with me, when I listen to recorded versions of your songs, your sound kind of reminds me of Dido. And I don't know if anyone said that to you before.
People
either.
have said that to me before as well.
But
yeah.
I couldn't put my finger on why. Because it's like, it's sort of the tone of the voice, but there's something else about it. I don't know what it is.
I've been told that I have a bit of a 90s vibe.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm a 90s... I mean,
is.
I'm a 90s kid. That's when I
That makes sense.
was born, the decade I was born in. So maybe it's just like sat there in me forever.
But at the same time, I feel like that in terms of the way you sound and the way it feels, but there's also like a lot of Crosby, Stills, Nash, Joni, like Laurel Canyon 70s folk.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of stuff you grew up listening to?
No, that's the kind of stuff that I don't think I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really grow up listening to like folky music at all. Like my dad listened to a lot of Pink Floyd, Bowie, Kate Bush, great people, like people I love. And my mum, and I guess there was classical music as well. I don't know, I guess my mum listened to a lot of classical music. But yeah, she does. My mum loves Joni Mitchell, but I did not discover all that stuff until I kind of discovered it myself. At uni, like I had a friend who loved Joni Mitchell and we bonded over that, and yeah.
What's your favourite Joni era? Because she's got a lot
I
of
know.
albums.
That's such a good question. I'm glad you asked that. That means that you
It means a lot to me.
that means you actually know, because so I would say I mean I love Joni, and I don't like, I don't want to sound critical, but I love it when her voice lowered a little bit.
Yeah.
So I guess like early 70s stuff is probably my favourite era. Like I love Hejira. And when is Hejira? Is it 1970 or 1971?
Well, 71 is Blue, I think.
Oh, maybe Hejira is a bit later then. Maybe
So I think
Hejira is like
76.
Oh wow! Oh, then that whole
the
first
70s.
chunk of the 70s is like, from Blue onwards is epic.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
So I guess you feel like your songwriting now is informed by a lot of that work.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely been a massive influence on me, and just all the kind of strong female singer-songwriters, I can't help but like be inspired by them because they're relatable for me. You know, so yeah.
Have you ever been to see any heroes live? Any of your like idols? You ever seen any of them live?
When you said Heroes Live, for a second I didn't know what you meant, and I was like, "What's Heroes Live?" Like it's some show. I was like, "I've not heard of this."
Any of your faves?
Have I seen? I mean, I've seen people who are more contemporary, obviously. But I'm trying to think if I've seen. Like, I've never seen Joni. Obviously, she doesn't. I mean, she's actually performing
Starting now, yeah.
Yeah, performing a bit more now. But I've seen Paul Simon.
Oh, nice.
I went and
That's a
saw
good one.
him in Hyde Park when he did like the Graceland thing. That was ages ago, but that was so cool. And I think James Taylor was playing then as well, or maybe that was a different time. And Carole King. All these things are stuff I've seen with like my family. Yeah, I have. But not Joni.
The best gig you've ever been to see?
That is such a hard question. The best gig I've ever been to.
Well, okay, no, maybe not the best gig ever, but like one of your favourite ever that you can think of. What comes to mind?
Well, randomly, what came to mind is a very small gig. I remember when I saw Flight for the first time. Do you know Flight? They're so good. And I was going to see someone else, and I can't remember who I was going to see, and this never happens. But they came on, and I'd never heard of them. They were the support act, and they were so good, and I became a massive fan like then, and I've been a fan ever since. And this was like probably 2014 or something. It was but they're not a 4-piece anymore, but at the time they were a 4-piece, and they were a bit Beatlesy, like they do 4-part harmony and stuff, and they were so good. So I remember that being a particularly good gig. I mean, there's been loads, but it's hard to remember like your favourite gig.
I know. But
Carole King was great. She's great.
I'd love to see
She's
Carole.
great.
Speaking of support slots, you've got one coming up.
Yes.
Who's that for?
Pylons or the Pylons. I never know if it's Pylons or the Pylons. So the stuff that I'm recording now is recorded with someone called Joey Walker. He's great. And he is in this band, the Pylons, I should know this. He's a drummer, and so they invited me to open for them at O2 Academy Islington. I never know how to say it.
Yeah.
O2 Academy Islington next month, which I think will be very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you gig a lot? Is that something that you think is really important for your career?
I go in big waves. I do gig. I generally do gig a lot, but I haven't been gigging a lot over the last like couple of months or so. Like I've had a little bit of a break, and I think sometimes you need a break to like either work on the songs that you're going to release or just like re-establish what you're trying to do or something. So yeah, I have had like a little bit of a late summer, early autumn break, but yeah, so this gig next month will be very fun.
Nice, a nice break off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the live side, and you're very active there. As for writing, we talked a little bit about it. Your process, you mentioned, is variable.
Yeah.
The second song you did for us was Little Things.
Yeah.
That's quite a while ago, so again, I'm asking you to dig some stuff up here, but how did that one come about?
Oh my gosh, now I'm going to sound like a girl that always writes songs about breakups and stuff.
I think everyone talks about it.
But I do write songs about other stuff, I swear. I could have chosen, the one I was telling you about, A Tale of Faraway Land. But no, so Little Things was... I co-wrote this one. I forgot. Oh my gosh, I'm glad that you asked me this. I co-wrote this one with my bandmate, Adrian, who's also known as Easy Mess. And we, again, started writing it together. Oh God, I can't even remember when. We did like a songwriting session together, and I remember we were trying to write a Christmas song. I don't know why, we just thought it'd be fun. And it wasn't going well. And then right at the end, he started playing that chord progression or something similar. And I had these lyrics, and he was like, oh, just sing them over them. And I just sung them over them, and it worked. And then I came up with a chorus, then dropped it, and then came back to it like months later when I'd broken up with someone, and was like, oh, this is great, and just finished it really quickly. And then I was like, Adrian, I finished that song. And then, yeah, it like became a bit of a favourite with some people, like a live favourite. So yeah, weird. I don't know why I nearly completely trashed it.
brought me flowers and buttered my toast. You carried my shopping, you carried it home. We walked for hours with nowhere to go. And all of these things, they come back to me sometimes when I'm on my own. It's the little things that mean the most, you know. I'll be listening to music, you'll be on the phone. I'll see you coming across the road. I'll wave like crazy and catch your eye. We'll grab some beers and hug goodbye. And all of these things, they'll come back to me sometimes when I'm on my own. It's the little things, you know, yeah. All of these things, they'll come back to me sometimes when I'm on my own. It's the little things that mean the most, you know. And all of these things, they'll come back to me sometimes when I'm on my own. It's the little things, you know, yeah. All of these things, they'll come back to me sometimes when I'm on my own. It's the little things that mean the most, you know. Ooh, do-do-do-do-do.
The Alpha Sessions.
You mentioned songwriting sessions. Do you do those regularly, or are you quite a solo writer?
I'm quite a solo writer, but I do like challenging myself, and I think it's quite challenging writing with someone else. Some people it's easier than others, I think. I haven't done much of it, but it's a bit exposing because when you're writing, obviously you're vulnerable, and then you can feel a bit stupid as well. Like you're like, is this good? Am I good? But I think it is a good thing to do, and I would definitely do more of it if like opportunities came up.
Do you feel like it's a lot harder to get lyrics out there, or just everything? Because I think I've had a block before when there's someone else in the room and then you, and you know that it's in there, but you can't like.
And then you go home and then you write it, like on your own, because it's just tricky. I think maybe if you're songwriting with someone you're quite comfortable with, then it's easier. But imagine doing it with like a stranger. Just like I think they do that in Nashville quite a lot. They just sort of have these sessions
together.
And I think probably again it's a thing you just practice and it gets easier. But yeah, no, I haven't done loads of it. But that song got written that way.
Do you have a dream collaborator?
Ooh,
anyone on any level?
Anise Mitchell. Do you know her?
It's a really familiar name.
So she is amazing. Check her out. She's the writer of the songs of Hadestown, which was like a Tony Award winning musical, but she's very folky, and she's someone who wrote a musical on the guitar, which is so interesting because most musically people are piano based, I think, like composers. And but she's done tons of albums herself, and she's great. And I'm actually going to see her this next month.
Lovely.
November, yeah.
Now I want to take you back to your first ever release. How did you find that process? Did you do it all independently? Was it quite a project for you? Was it just like, yeah, let's give it a go, very casual?
I recorded a couple of songs with this sort of friend-ish person. Yeah, a friend now, but like at the time we weren't like good friends. We just started recording together, and then I think what happened, I think I did it quite independently. He gave me a bit of advice, and then I just sort of did it, and it got onto like this playlist, this like bigger playlist, so it did quite well. Not well compared to, you know, famous people, but it got like quite a lot of streams at the time, which was great. But yeah, it was just we recorded it in his house, like with like one mic on the drums and stuff, you know.
You know, I actually noted that it's on about 170,000 streams.
But that's from ages ago as well, because it got on this big playlist and then it just like petered out.
But still, I mean, that's something. I think people focus a lot on streams as well, though. But in terms of that world, did that kind of get you down? Did that spur you on? Some people get really obsessed with like numbers and streams and trying to get on playlists. And
I mean, to an extent, it's obviously like I'm sure we all want to be getting loads of streams. Yeah, like I still want to, but I mean, there's so many things that are difficult about doing this. Like it's just one of the things, you know. And I'm quite a I guess I'm quite like a, what's the word? I don't even know what the word is. Hopeful or like
optimistic.
I'm optimistic. There we go. I'm kind of like, okay, that didn't work, so let's try doing this way. At least some of the time I'm like that, you know. So usually I just come up with another plan of what I'm going to try next. I mean, so far I haven't given up, but yeah.
Do you feel being a woman in music, releasing and being independent is one thing, and it's a lot of work, but do you think being a woman has affected? Can you feel issues with?
I mean, even in my first band, this might not be what you meant, but I think it's like a confidence thing as well, because in my first band I remember being so lacking in confidence generally about like not necessarily performing. I always found that a bit more natural, but yeah, like songwriting, I was too scared to like even show them my songs, and like I just feel like maybe a lot of the time men have a lot more people to look up to musician wise, and they just feel more like it's their place. And like in the studio and stuff, there's a lot of men, and it took me a while to feel more confident in all of those spaces, because there's just a lot of men who are really good at playing guitar, and you're just like, yeah, again, like, do I belong here? And I am a lot more confident about it now, but it took a while. So in that way, yeah, I think it is hard being women, just because I think there are a few less women doing all of those different jobs, but it's changing.
Yeah, it's definitely changing, especially with more people like you, and I mean us just being out there and doing our own thing. Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of female performers, but there's not necessarily loads of female producers or like engineers and all that stuff. And I always think they're so cool when I come across one. I'm like, oh yeah, yay.
But saying this, I noticed did a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah,
that was just like crazy successful within like a week. And so like these things you think about where you came from being kind of like nervous and anxious in a room, and then I mean, how did that feel? How did that Kickstarter campaign
I'm such
go?
a like I'm not I always take everything very like I don't know what the word for this is, but
modest.
I'm modest. I don't know if I'm modest, because that sounds really arrogant to say I'm modest. No. But I just feel like every achievement that happens, people are like, oh, that's really great, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay.
Because you're always trying to get
I just want more. I'm just greedy. That's what it is. I'm just so greedy. So I mean, yeah, I was like, great, that was successful. Like, thank God that it didn't just fail, because that would have been embarrassing.
That's what I'm terrified of. Yeah,
it's really embarrassing. Yeah, I was really scared before I did it. But yeah, and then it was, really nice that people supported it. And yeah, very like a bit it's vulnerable. Again, it's like doing something that puts you in a very vulnerable position. But yeah, it felt good, and it was necessary because money.
Yeah, and now you've got this EP.
Yeah.
And that's what it was funding, right?
Yeah.
What was that called?
I mean, it didn't fund all of it. It funded like a little bit of it. What's the EP called?
Yeah, what's the EP called?
I don't know. I haven't got a name for it yet. That's bad. I'm just currently like working on getting all the artwork and stuff together for it. So it's like the music is ready, but it's all the other stuff that's been taking me a while to figure out. I don't know why. Sometimes I'm quicker at this stuff than other times, but I want it to be good because I really like these songs and I'm really proud of it. So I want all the other stuff around it, like the artwork and everything, to be good too. But yeah, I don't know I might call it Hurry Honey Pie because I just love. I think it's a good name, Hurry Honey Pie.
That's the third song.
That brings us very nicely onto.
See, you're destined for this kind of work. So talk me through Hurry Honey Pie.
Yeah, so that was a song I wrote at the beginning of this year. So broke up with someone in the autumn last year, and then started. I guess you have that period of being very sad, and then you have a period, well, this is what happens to me, then you have a period of being really creative once you sort of get over the first bit of being just really sad. And yes, I wrote Hurry Honey Pie, and it's basically just a song about being in a position where everything is a bit rubbish. I was about to say a different word, and then I was like, do I need to be careful? A bit rubbish. And it's just me saying, can something good happen now, please? Hurry, honey pie. Hurry, like the honey, the sweetness of life, Okay. It's just that. It's like kind of a yearning song, I think. It was, again, a song that got written, that was one that got written very quickly. It just sort of poured out.
Is this EP like a collection of things that are very similar in terms of feeling and in terms of that sentiment, or are all these songs you just sort of like, yeah, I like that one, I like that one? Do you tend to do concepts? Or
No,
no?
It's not a concept at all. It's all songs that are at least partly my experiences, but often what I'll do is I'll have a song will start being because of something that I've experienced, and then I'll draw on something else a bit. But I think they're all, let me just think, they're all quite personal, I think, in this EP. So that's the only thing I could say that was like a kind of theme. And then they're all recorded around the same time, like this summer, well, I guess spring, summer, with the same person, and like working on that, and kind of, I brought in some songs that were a few years old, I guess, and then, for example, Hurry Honey Pie, I'd just written it and then we recorded it. But like working with the same person, and it was like a very small team. It was just me, Joey, my bandmate Adrian, and then one or two other people doing like one or two other bits. We got like a lovely violinist, whose name I've forgotten. But yeah, so it was just, I think that's the only thing that kind of ties everything together is the production and like who worked on it and everything. But they're just songs that I wrote.
I mean, that's all anything is, really.
Yeah.
Every album, I just wrote some
songs
stuff.
I wrote.
But that's the musical side of things. In terms of the promotion and the imagery and all of the aesthetics, is that all you just sort of?
That's why I'm struggling.
I think that's one of the hardest things.
Yeah, so I'm not an artist. I mean, to be fair, like I did do quite a bit of art when I was younger, but that having to do all those different jobs is hard. And like, yeah, I think that's why I'm struggling, because I want to come up with the right kind of, like design for it. And it's not necessarily obvious, maybe. Maybe this stuff just wasn't obvious to me this time. So it's just taking a bit of time, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. We're getting there. And I'm excited to hear it all.
Thank
I'm very
you.
excited.
I'm excited for it.
Before you play us out, plug your socials. Tell us where we can find you.
Oh, God. Well, I used to have Instagram, but it just apparently got deleted.
Theoretically, where can we find you, and how do you spell your name?
So Say Anise is the word say, S-A-Y, and then a space, and then A-N-I-S-E. And it's basically Say Anise everywhere. So Instagram, I think there's an underscore there for Instagram. Spotify, it's Say Anise. I have a website, it's sayanise.com, no spaces. What else is there? Facebook?
YouTube,
yeah, it's all just Say Anise. So that's how you find me. Yeah, wherever you kind of like finding people.
Amazing. Well, it was lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you as well.
I hope we can have you back in the studio again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am the wind brushing over, blowing over, getting closer to the other side. I am a leaf spinning round, spinning falling down right before your eyes. Say that these waves will bring me something. Hurry, honey pie. Say that this all won't be for nothing. Hurry, honey, hurry, honey pie. And I'll fly, fly through the sky, up and away, and all the pain and bitterness